In this question, it's asking us to create the intervals instead of deciding what percent falls into each interval. It's really straightforward. All I'm doing is adding and subtracting. The only thing that's a little confusing is how they reported this number, the variance. So they've told us the cost of Instacart orders during quarantine were recorded and found out a sample mean and variance of 240 and 144 respectively. So that 240 is a sample mean or X bar, which is exactly what we need as the first part of what we're going to be doing when we're doing this addition and subtraction. Fortunately, this 144 is S squared, not S. None of my calculations use S squared, so really before I begin, I want to take the square root of this S squared so I have just S. If I take the square root of 144, my calculator tells me that that's 12. So I'm going to use 12 as S, I'm going to use 240 as X bar. That means that X bar plus S becomes 240 plus 12, which gives me 252. X bar minus S is 240 minus 12, which gives me 228. When I go to do X bar plus 2S, what that's really telling me to do is 240 plus 2 times 12. So that ends up giving me 264. When I do X bar minus 2S, I'm really subtracting 12 from this. That's why I end up with 216. When I'm adding 3S, I'm adding another 12 to this, so I end up with 276. When I'm subtracting 3S, I'm subtracting another 12 from this, so I end up with 204. What this really has created for me is intervals that would represent each of the 3 standard deviations away from the mean. One standard deviation away would be from 228 to 252. Using the empirical rule, we would expect that to have 0.68 as the proportion of the measurements. From 216 to 264 is 2 standard deviations. Using the empirical rule, we expect that to have 0.95 of the measurements. From 204 to 276 is 3 standard deviations in either direction from the mean. Again, using the empirical rule, we'd expect that to have 0.997 proportion of the measurements. So basically, what fraction of the measurements would I expect to fall into these intervals based on the empirical rule is just asking me to restate the empirical rule and say that for 1 standard deviation it's 0.68, 2 standard deviations 0.95, 3 standard deviations 0.997.